When you're diving, if you don't exhale enough, as you're coming up, your lungs expand. They can only expand a certain little amount, otherwise they will pop. We were partway through harvesting on the farm, and it was the first opportunity to have a day off. It was a coolish looking day, so I was like, right, I'm going to get up early, go away for the day, headed off to meet my mates over in Wainui, and we went out for a dive. Everything was going great. I caught the biggest crayfish I've ever caught in my life. I said to my mate, look, I'm getting low on oxygen, we better go to the top, and slowed my breathing down a bit too much. A faint puncture in my lungs caused air to go into my heart. I had a hole in my heart, which about 20% of people have it, and usually never know. When the air bubbles went into the heart, they go through and the hole into the other side and go into the bloodstream. And of course, because I was coming up, most of them went to my brain, and it caused a series of multiple little mini strokes. When I was coming to the surface, I knew something was wrong. I got to the surface and I couldn't feel my legs. I called my mate over and said, hey, things have gone wrong. We need the boat here quick. And panic really started to set into both of us then. We called the boat over, and I said to them to throw me a rope, and I lashed the rope around my arm and basically tied myself to the boat. And about that point, I remember saying, God, I can't do this. I need your help to get me through. At this point, I hadn't been walking with the Lord. I had been a few years previous, and really called out to him and said, I need you now. I blacked out at that point, and my friends got me onto the boat. In the confusion of getting me into the boat, they knocked the fuel line off without noticing. And while one of them was trying to radio for help, the other one was trying to start the boat and ended up getting a flat battery. They managed to flag down another boat passing by, which happened to be a dive charter going out, and they had just been in the harbour practicing a safety drill. And one of the people on board had said, do you ever use them? And the guy was like, I've actually never had to use the oxygen on board and stuff yet. And then they set off on their way, and when they got to the end of the harbour, normally they always turn left. At the last minute, the captain was like, I'm going to go right today. And if they had have turned left, they wouldn't have found us. They quickly transferred me onto that boat. The owner of the boat knew the operations manager at the Westpac helicopter, so he actually got him personally on the phone as well, so that he could tell him where he needed to park the boat in the harbour and the quickest way to get into the helicopter and into the hospital. And at that time, they didn't know what I had done. They knew it was a diving accident, so they treat it as you might have the bends, you might not. I had several trips through the decompression chamber. After the first one, they put me into an induced coma. They did say that normally people with that condition don't normally make it to hospital. And they basically said to my family that I would potentially have no sight, no memory, probably no long-term memory, been married for about 6 months. And my wife wasn't a Christian either. But she had this really real sense of peace the whole way through it. Knowing how many people were praying, like people that we didn't even really know, like the church where Mum and Dad went, most of the people there didn't know who I was. But knowing that this whole group of people were praying for me, and just the whole peace that Sarah had the whole way through it, she was like this peace, and even though she didn't sleep and barely ate for a week, she had this amazing peace about the fact that I was going to be okay, even when doctors and stuff were saying potentially the opposite. When I woke up from the coma, they had to get me out of it earlier than they were anticipating because I was getting too restless. And when I woke up, the doctors came to see me and said they were just amazed that I could actually see for a start. And they said, you're in hospital. I said, yeah, no, I had a diving accident, and basically relayed the story to them. and they were just in complete amazement that I had sight, and B, had full memory of everything up until the point where I blacked out in the water, and then moved to a rehabilitation unit where I spent the next 2 months learning to walk. It was 3 months until I was back at home walking unaided. There's no way just after the accident happened that boat could have come around the corner with oxygen, with fully trained people, not only knowing the procedures but knowing the right people to call as far as emergency rescue crews. No one else could have put them in line apart from God. Growing up as a teenager, going to church and everything, I never really felt that closeness, and it didn't have a real personal connection. And having the accident, knowing that that's the only reason I'm still here, is he's obviously got more work for me to do. He stuck to his end of the deal, so I've stuck to mine.